All right, diving in. Today we're focusing on something you guys are already fans of, the outsiders.
Great pick.
Yeah, and to really dig deep, we're looking at this blog post, 50 The Outsiders Journal Prompts.
Okay.
It's from LaStallion, posted just the other day, actually, December 29th, 2024, written by Clara Penrose.
Sounds interesting.
It is. And I think what's really cool about this is it takes those big ideas from the book, identity, belonging, friendship, and frames them as journal prompts.
So it's like using the book as a way to understand yourself better.
Yeah, exactly. You're totally getting it.
That's clever. Using this classic coming-of-age story, something so many people connect with, as a framework for, like you said, self-discovery.
Right. And these aren't like those basic journal prompts. This is deep stuff.
Mhm.
One that really stood out to me was, how do you define your identity or place in your world? What influenced it the most?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It makes you think, right? And it's so relevant to what Ponyboy goes through, trying to figure out where he fits in as a greaser.
It's like it's asking us to think about our own tribe,
Yeah.
what shapes us.
Exactly. And that's a big part of what makes this blog post so effective. It taps into that human need to understand ourselves and our place in the world.
And the prompts give us a way to actually explore that, like with a purpose,
For sure. Plus, by connecting it back to the outsiders, it adds this extra layer of engagement.
Right. And makes it, I don't know, more fun. Like, I remember reading that book and just being completely sucked into Ponyboy's world. Now with these prompts, it's like I get to step into his shoes and really examine my own life through that lens.
It's like you said earlier, taking a deep dive into the book A&D yourself. It's a pretty powerful combination.
Absolutely. Okay, another prompt that just jumped out at me was, write about a time when you had to choose between loyalty to a friend and doing what felt right.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, it gets you thinking about your own experiences, right? Like those moments where you had to make a really difficult choice. And what you learned from it, I remember this one time back in high school. Actually, maybe we should save that story for another time.
Uh-huh, right. But you see what I mean? These prompts get right to the heart of things.
They do. And, I mean, haven't we all been there? That struggle between loyalty and doing what you believe is right? It's like a universal dilemma.
It is. And it's so central to the outsiders, too. Think about the greasers and the intense loyalty they have to each other, even when it leads them into trouble.
So true. Okay, we can't talk about the outsiders without talking about that idea of staying gold. Comes up a lot in these dramas, too.
Yeah, staying gold. It seems so simple on the surface, but there's so much depth there, so much to unpack.
Right. It's like this core theme that runs through the entire book.
And through the blog post, too.
Exactly. It's like Clara, the author, is asking us to think about what staying gold means to us in our own lives.
It's a really powerful concept because it speaks to that universal human desire to hold on to our values, our ideals, even when the world around us feels, I don't know, kind of cynical or harsh.
Absolutely. We see it in Ponyboy's journey, right? Trying to maintain his sense of wonder amidst the realities of gang life. But it also makes you think, what does staying gold look like in adulthood? Like, is it even possible?
Ooh, that's a good question. It really is. And I think that's what makes these prompts so compelling. They push us to grapple with these big ideas, not just in the context of the book, but in our own lives.
Totally. It's not just about nostalgia. It's about applying these themes to our own experiences, our own journeys, and maybe even challenging that notion that staying gold is about clinging to some, idealized past.
Yeah, maybe it's more about evolving and growing while staying true to your core values.
Exactly.
It's not about staying the same. It's about staying true to yourself.
I love that. And it makes me think, what are the things that you, the listener, consider golden about yourself, about the world? How do you protect those things as you go through life?
Ooh, that's a great question for everyone to consider.
Right. It's giving me a lot to think about already, and we're just getting started.
And it's amazing how just those two words, stay gold, can make you think so deeply about your life.
I know, right? It's like a simple phrase, but so much meaning packed in there.
Definitely.
And what I really like about these journal prompts is they don't shy away from, the harder parts of life,
Oh, yeah.
There's some that really dig into loss, disappointment, all that.
Yeah.
There's one that asks, describe a time when you felt like an outsider.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
How did you cope with those feelings?
That's a powerful one.
It is, right?
It is. Because, haven't we all felt like an outsider at some point?
For sure, yeah.
Whether it was because of, where we grew up or what we believe in or just, feeling different. And this prompt, it gives you a way to explore those feelings in a safe space, like in your journal.
Yeah, it's like instead of bottling everything up, you can write it all out.
Exactly. And there's actually a lot of research that shows like journaling about difficult emotions can be super helpful.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it can help you process those experiences and even like reframe them in a more positive light.
That makes sense.
So it's not just about like dwelling on the negative stuff, it's about working through it, you know?
Yeah, I get it.
And speaking of feeling like an outsider, the blog post also talks about like social pressures and expectations.
Yeah.
You know, that feeling of having to fit in.
Yeah.
And there's one prompt that I thought was really interesting. It asks, if you could give your younger self one piece of advice about navigating social pressures, what would it be?
Oh, wow, that's a good one.
It is, right?
It's like looking back on all the challenges you faced growing up.
Exactly. And all those moments where you felt pressured to like conform or betray your own values.
Oh, for sure.
And now, like, imagine the wisdom you could share with your younger self, knowing what you know now.
Yeah.
And maybe in giving that advice to your past self, you also gain some clarity for how you handle those pressures today, you know?
That's so true. Like, you can learn from your past self just as much as you can learn from your present experiences.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's not all like serious soul searching, though.
Right.
There are some prompts that are like more fun and lighthearted.
Oh, good.
One that I thought was really cute was, if you could hang out with one of the greasers for a day, who would it be and what would you do?
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, it's fun, right?
It is. It brings in that like playful energy.
Right, it lets you tap into your imagination.
Totally. But even in that playfulness, it still reveals something about you, you know?
Like what?
Like who you choose to hang out with and what you imagine doing, it says a lot about your personality, your values.
That's true. I didn't think about it like that.
It's subtle, but it's there.
And you know what else I love about this whole concept? It's like taking a book and using it as a jumping off point for self-discovery.
Yeah.
It's like not just passively reading, it's actively engaging with the story.
Exactly. It turns reading into this dynamic, interactive experience.
It does.
And it doesn't have to be just The Outsiders either.
Oh, you're right.
Like imagine applying this to any book that really speaks to you.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
It opens up so many possibilities for like self-exploration and creativity.
Okay, but before we like go too far down that rabbit hole, we got to talk about the marketing genius behind this.
Oh, yeah.
Remember how we mentioned that Listallion sells journals?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this blog post is like the perfect way to promote them without being, too salesy.
It's brilliant, really.
They're giving people valuable content, something that their target audience, people who love The Outsiders and are into self-reflection, will actually connect with. And then by including the journal prompts, they're like subtly hinting, hey, if you like this, maybe you should grab one of our awesome journals to write all these thoughts down.
It's so smart.
It doesn't feel pushy at all.
Nope.
It just feels like a natural extension of the content.
And that's like the key to good content marketing.
What do you mean?
It's about providing value first.
Okay.
By giving readers something useful and engaging, Listallion builds trust.
Right.
And it positions them as like a go-to resource in the world of journaling and self-discovery.
So it's a win-win.
Exactly.
So as we're wrapping up this deep dive into these Outsiders journal prompts, what are some of the big takeaways you hope our listeners will walk away with?
Well, first off, I hope they've gotten a new appreciation for the power of journaling.
Like as a tool for self-discovery.
Exactly. It's not just about writing down what you did that day. It's about exploring those deeper questions, about figuring out your values, making connections between your own experiences and the stories you read.
Yeah. It's like we're saying, don't just read The Outsiders. Live it.
I love that. Embrace those themes, those challenges, those moments of self-reflection.
Yes. And I also hope our listeners have been inspired to think critically about that whole staying gold thing. Like, what does it mean to them? How can they cultivate those qualities in their own lives?
And how can they hold on to that even as they grow and change and face all the complexities of adulthood?
Right. And I think this deep dive has given everyone a great place to start thinking about those questions.
Definitely.
But before we completely wrap up, I want to leave our listener with one last thought. Yeah. Okay. So we've spent all this time talking about how amazing these journal prompts are and how they can help us really get the outsiders on a deeper level,
Yeah.
But I think the really cool part comes when you take what you've learned and use it in your own life outside the book.
That's where it becomes real, right? It's not just thinking about these ideas. It's about actually living them out.
Yeah.
Exactly. So to wrap up this whole deep dive, I want to give everyone a little challenge.
Okay, I like this.
Pick one prompt, just one from the list that speaks to you, like really resonates. Maybe it's that one about identity or the loyalty one, or even the fun one about hanging out with a greaser.
Good picks, yeah. And here's another layer to add on to that challenge.
Okay.
As you're writing, imagine Ponyboy sitting right there with you,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
or Johnny, or any of the characters, just listening to your thoughts. What do you think they'd say?
That's such a cool idea. It's like you're having a conversation with the characters while you journal.
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
bet it would bring out some super interesting insights.
I think so too. And it's not just about the writing itself. It's more about taking that time to reflect, to really dig deep and figure yourself out. Even just 5 minutes with one of these prompts, I think it could make a big difference.
Oh, definitely. It's like Lestallion snuck in this awesome toolkit for self-discovery, and they even have those gorgeous journals just waiting to be filled up with all your amazing thoughts. But the real key is that commitment to looking inward.
You got it. That willingness to really reflect on yourself, that's how you stay gold, how you hold on to what matters, even when things get tough.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Mm.
This has been such a fun deep dive. I'm so glad we got to do this together.
Me too.
And to all you listeners, thanks for joining us. Now go out there and journal your hearts out. Who knows what you might discover?